Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
Okay, good. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome you all to another session of our Developer Weekend. Today, we have with ourselves Betina Simeonova, the Transformation and Change Management Consultant at Microsoft, who is going to give her views on the topic of importance of people in technology. She is fascinated by technology and its power to transform lives and businesses. Her aim is to simplify its complexities and ease the process of change for those adopting it. Her passion, positive attitude, and ability to demonstrate the user friendliness of software and hardware is able to bring people on board and get them excited about the opportunities it brings. So, Bettina, over to you,
Hiya,
and
thank you.
thank you for coming here.
Thank you so much for having me. Hi, everybody. So I'm just going to share my screen and just let me know if you can see it okay.
Sure. Yeah, perfect.
All right, thank you. So, hi, everyone. My name is Bettina, and I'm an adoption and change management specialist working for Microsoft in the UK. Now, like many others around the world right now, I'm working from home where I have my two best friends alongside me, making me laugh and keeping me company all the time, my cat Henley and my guinea pig Yogi. Um, where now I like to drink coffee in the mornings, and it's one of my favorite habits alongside my yoga practice. And when I'm able to, I do like to travel to the office in the UK, but it's not something I have done for a long, long time now. And because my hometown has been my whole world for almost a year now, I like to go on nice walks to still my mind, recharge my batteries, and either get ready for the day ahead or wind down for the
Right
evening.
now, I'm
At
working from
home and
home
at
where I
work, I
have
am
my two best
surrounded by
friends.
change. Working for a tech company that is releasing new features and capabilities every single day means that I deal with change all of the time. There is always something new to learn, and I absolutely love it. At Microsoft, we live and breathe our growth mindset culture. And for me, at the core of this is to always be open to learning and innovating. The pace of technical change is absolutely insane, and yet it is happening all around me, and I can't do anything about it. Or can I? What I have learned over the last couple of years is that staying on top of new technology, not being afraid of it, but instead embracing it, is one of the best decisions I make every single day. That doesn't mean it's always easy, though. Um, I have also learned that dealing with change doesn't come easy for many of us either. So today, I hope to show you a very simple technique that can either help you deal with change yourselves or allow you to help others, as well as some important points to learn from the adoption and change management discipline that puts people at the heart of technology. So I would like to start with the term tech intensity. Can you see? Okay, thank you. So I'd like to start with the term tech intensity, and it comes from someone who really sees the bigger picture. Satya Nadella sees the world in a beautiful way, and he leads one of the most innovative organizations on the planet. He is responsible for some of the biggest and positive disruptions people have ever seen. Now, he says that tech intensity is an organization's rate of technology adoption, along with its ability to build its own digital capability. And it is a blueprint for success. And today we will focus a lot on the importance of adoption and how it is people who are key in the tech intensity equation. Satya has provided us with this blueprint for success in our ever changing world. Okay, tech intensity. So, what is it? Well, it really comes down to three things. First, it's how you adopt the latest technology and integrate it into an organization or even in your life that matters. Second is how you build your unique digital capability. Digital technology is the most flexible tool ever created, and all organizations will need a culture where all people are part of the innovation process and they're able to learn, play, and innovate with it. And finally, but not least, we have trust, both trust in technology and trust in the business model. And it's really important that we get this equation right on all fronts because it will determine what an organization can withstand in the current crisis, but also in the future. And the key things I want you to take away from all of this is that when you are creating new technology, when you're innovating or helping others adopt new technology, always think about the people that are going to be using it and focus on building their trust in your brand or your product. But before we go any further, what is adoption? Adoption is where someone makes an individual choice to make a change in their life. It presents itself as a deep habitual usage that delivers tangible value to a person and or an organization. And digital transformation should no longer be seen as a sprint. It is a marathon. It's no longer just about an IT upgrade, but it's a chance to uncover modern productivity opportunities. Running the digital marathon is about building stamina to continuously accelerate performance. As many companies have discovered, creating processes, implementing tools, and identifying different workflows can be quite straightforward. But it's changing people that is hard. And if we don't get the right message to the right people at the right time, it can be downright impossible to achieve. So what I'm saying here is that the powers of technology are only truly realized when they're in the hands of people. And don't think of it of IT and business as two separate things. If you're in IT, you're in business. If you're in business, you're in IT. Both need to work together to manage change in our age of disruption. And I tell you this today because right now, more often than not, that is not the case. So what really should be happening is we're seeing, let me get my laser pointer up. What tends to happen is we see a lot of focus into the technical side of things. The develop and design stages is where people tend to focus a lot of their time on in an organization, especially, and is the people side that should be running parallel with the technical side, with the technical activities, but it doesn't always happen that way. And what you see here is the current state, so before the changes happen, so life as we know it today. There's always a transition state, which is where people are trying to adapt to a change. And you have the future state, now the change has been implemented. And how are people adapting to it? So here is your current state, everyone doing the same thing. The transition state, if you don't focus on the people, only some might be curious to see what this new technology might be or what this new change might be. So you might get maybe 16% of people that will be naturally inquisitive and naturally want to find out more about this new shiny tool that they have. But again, if we don't manage this change, then the future state can become really fragmented. And then you will not see the true impact of a change, and it won't stick. So each individual needs to choose to change their behavior and their habits in order to form an impactful future state. And if they don't, this is what you get. When projects normally deliver some type of change, let's say you're building a new tool to send and receive email, you put all of your effort and budget into the technical plan, design, development, and then people are just expected to use it. But that's not the case. So what we see here is this lovely drawn horse where all of the attention and effort has been put in. But then sometimes on projects, budgets tend to run out towards that second part, which is the people part, that is just as important and needs just as much focus. And it's the people side that as I said, makes people make that personal decision to embrace, adopt, and use, let's say, the new product or technology. Technology itself cannot transform an organization or society. It is people that need to change. And people are not marble. Yes?
Really sorry for that. Please continue.
No worries. So there might be a question. Anyway, as I was saying, people are not marbles. We can't just push them into the direction that we want them to go and expect them to just roll with it. So what can we do about it? So let's start with the golden circle, which was coined by Simon Sinek. And we say that every person and organization operates on three levels: the why, the how, and the what. The why is our core purpose, our belief that drives everything that we do. So the why is always at the heart of everything. The how are the actions you take to bring your whys to life. And the what is the work that you do of your why. So we have why, how, and the what. Now, there's the impact of change on the brain is really interesting, and I'm no neuroscientist, but there are some things that we know as to how changes affect your brain, or really how our brains deal with change. And the golden circle reflects how our brains work. So we have the limbic brain, the part of our brain that drives our instincts, our feelings, our emotions, and that links to the why and the how. We then have the neocortex, which handles language and logic and mirrors our what's. We need all three levels to appeal to both the logic and the emotional part of our brain. So you may have heard the saying, people don't like change. And that is because our brain is wired to protect us, and it's wired resistant to change. Our brain is focused on minimizing threats and maximizing rewards. Minimizing a threat is much more effective motivator. So if we're scared to try something new, we're likely to just not try it at all. And if we don't know something, this triggers the brain to start running its own predictive script by filling gaps of missing information and creating its own interpretation of the situation, like creating a story. For example, I don't know how to use this new technology. It scares me. I don't like it. If I try and fail, others might laugh at me. So to assure predictability, the brain secures the future by learning from the past. Let's say in the past, you might have tried to solve a difficult equation and couldn't do it. The next time you need to solve a similar equation, you might already think you can't do it before you tried it again. Without fully appreciating our brains, we are not able to fully appreciate what the change process has to offer. So some key points to keep in mind. We cannot make any sustainable changes without changing our brain's neural pathways. Now, keep this in mind. Again, it's the people that need to make these changes. Our brains run on autopilot mode by creating habits to preserve energy. So any learning activity, so each time we're learning something new, that costs our brain at least 25% more energy than a task it can do on autopilot. It's a lot like writing code. You want your code to be as efficient as possible and to run as efficiently as possible. And the same goes for our brains. So to change our habits, we need to replace them with new ones by consciously and repetitively engaging our thinking brain in the creation of a new blueprint of the desired result. And again, that's another reason why change is not easy. So I mentioned autopilot mode just now, and you may be wondering what that is. Well, do any of you drive? Well, those of you that do, have you ever driven home and then you don't remember driving or the route you took because it's the same route you have driven many times before? Maybe you don't even remember changing gears, indicating. You just magically from work got home and you don't remember it. Or maybe you walked home and can't remember walking home. Well, when this happens, our brains go into what is known as autopilot mode, and it happens to every one of us. And it's simply our brain's way of making life easier when we don't have to think all the time. So it's not a bad thing, it's actually a good thing. It makes our lives easier. But being on autopilot is simply having a habit. Remember at the beginning, I told you I have a habit of drinking coffee every morning? Well, I can make my coffee with my eyes shut. I don't need to think about it until I remember the actions, and it takes no effort for my brain whatsoever to make a cup of coffee. And each day, we are all guided by many habits. Our subconscious mind takes control of the actions we normally do each day without us having to think about them. So, when we're learning a new task, for example, learning to use a new email system, this is when the prefrontal cortex, which is where all of the executive functions in our brain happens, our brain is in control to make sure we stay focused on the task in hand, so it's engaged and it's helping us learn. And after a while, that task gets embedded into this striatum, which is crucial for creating habits and learning. It's just another part of our brain. And when a new habit is created, we go on autopilot mode. And when this happens, it now becomes procedural memory, so something we're used to doing every day. And it no longer needs the executive part of the brain to function. So the prefrontal cortex is bypassed. We don't have to think about it. We're just doing a habit that we know how to do already. And being on autopilot is important because, as I mentioned, it makes our lives easier. However, overwriting the autopilot is very difficult, hence why it can be difficult to change someone's behavior. For example, to ask someone to learn a new method of sending email or not sending email at all. With new technology out now, like Microsoft Teams, for example, the need to use email is less and less. However, for someone who's been using email for maybe the past 20 years, the neural pathways are so well established that rewiring those can be a really tough job, and it will take a lot of convincing for them to learn a new habit. So now that we know this, what now? What can we do about it? We have covered a little bit about the brain, just a tiny little bit of the science behind it, and some of the, but what can we do in order to help ease people through the process of change at an individual level, but also as a collective, maybe in society, or as or at an organizational level? So the ProSci body of knowledge, which if you go on their website, there's a ton of resources and more information if you're interested. But ProSci have brought to us 5 building blocks, and it's all part of the change management body of knowledge. And with these 5 building blocks, it really gives us a step-by-step method to help people ease through the process of change. First, we have the awareness. And let's start with the why. So when you think awareness, also think of why. And think back to the golden circle. Think about, why is a change needed? What problem are you solving? Why now? And what is the risk of not changing? So playing cricket is a good example here. And I had 2 whys really. When I joined university, I didn't play any sports and I wasn't really interested. I was quite unfit. But I also wanted to make new friends at university, and joining a sports team was a great way to do so. So then I really knew my why for wanting to play a new sport. So the limbic part of my brain was happy. And this is when I stumbled upon cricket. And to really excel at cricket, I needed to stand in the right way, hold the bat in the right way, and perform all of these little adjustments to my body posture in order to be successful. And in order to make all the little adjustments, like keeping my feet still, I needed to understand why I was doing these things. So I started with understanding why making these adjustments is necessary so I can be a better player. And having a coach really helped me with this, and all of my more experienced teammates as well, who coached me too and helped me learn all about the game of cricket. But when I started to play cricket, I was able to start making changes to my lifestyle as well because I was uncomfortable with the current state where I wasn't playing any sports. So then think of the orange dots. So in the current state, I was unhappy. And but I started to successfully build on these new habits, like going to training. But sometimes people may not recognize the need to make a change in the first place. So you may need to communicate that really clearly. So, for example, if you were to build a marketing campaign, center it around the why. Sometimes the changes you may ask people to make are intended to solve a problem that they may not see as a problem at all. If I don't feel the need to get fitter, if I, sorry, feel the need to get fitter and I was happy as I was, and then someone just told I needed to do something about it and that I should play cricket, I probably wouldn't have listened to them. They may not feel like, when you ask people to make a change, they may not feel like the reasons are valid or compelling enough to make a difference. This is why the way you deliver the why, so the reason for the change, is so important. But also the credibility of the sender of the message is also key. You need to establish trust. So think back to the tech intensity blueprint. Trust is also at the center of the blueprint. So I am more likely to listen to my cricket coach telling me to adjust the way I hold the bat than I am to someone that has never played cricket before. So always ask yourselves, why should people listen to you? Do you have the most experience? Are you the most passionate? Have you spent 10,000 hours building your app? Establish your credibility, and that will help you establish trust. Next, we have desire. So in order for someone to change the way that they do things, they need to want to make that change. Otherwise, they're not going to do anything about it. That is why our purpose or belief in everything we do, and it is driven by our limbic brain. So our limbic brain comes back to our desire and our want to do something. So in order to help people make a change, show them the what's in it for them. Focus on what motivates people. For me, playing cricket was about making new friends and becoming fitter. And these were my biggest motivators. And that later on gave me many other benefits too. So first we've got the why should we make the change? And then the what's in it for me, to show people and appeal to what motivates them. Something to bear in mind here is there's often a cost associated with switching that someone needs to go through. So it's really, it's good practice to empathize with this too. So again, the why needs to be so clear, as well as the what's in it for me, in order to make the change or the switch. So when I started playing cricket, the first bat that I had was given to me. I learned how to play with it. It wasn't the best bat by all means, or the most expensive bat, but I was comfortable with it. I knew how to use it and I liked using it. So for someone to come in and try to sell me a new bat, for me to stop using my old one, the reasons would have to be very compelling for me to actually make the switch. So remember that when you're asking someone to make a change, it will cost them time, effort, and often money too. There's switching costs involved with almost anything, even switching supermarkets. If you're used to going to one supermarket, you know where everything is, you know where the coffee is, you know where the bread is. You go in, and it's a bit of the autopilot mode. You know exactly where to go to pick up the groceries that you need. If all of a sudden a new supermarket is built, they need to convince people to go into it in the first place, because now and they will need to learn all of these new habits and learn where everything is around the store. So there's always a switching cost involved. The next thing to consider is knowledge. In order for people to make the change, think if you need to provide training. So do people already have the right skills to adopt a new technology or do a task in the new way? If so, put a plan together and ensure everyone is trained and has the chance to acquire the right skills. In order for a cricket team to do well, our coaches organize training 3 times a week and sometimes more when we had a match coming up. We also had many practice games to help us gain our experience. and just build that resilience within the game under the pressure. So the practice games were just as important as the training. So in the, I don't know, the video will play, it won't play, but in the video here, we were training, we were preparing for the women's national finals for British university sport. So training was absolutely key in our process to getting to the finals. Oh, I managed to get it to play. And just as important as knowledge is ability, right? Are people putting into action their training and the new skills they are learning? Is it really making a difference? And are they achieving the desired performance or behavior? So also going back to our email, you've built a new email system, people have perhaps bought it, but are people using it to the best of its abilities, making their days more efficient, more productive? How are people using it? In our cricket team, analyze our strike and economy rates. If we're progressing and doing well, then we're likely to stay on the main team, and we're also likely to play in the women's final. If our performance, though, isn't progressing, perhaps we need to go back and revisit any of the steps we have been through so far. For example, you might identify more training is needed, or the person may simply be losing desire, and therefore it's reflecting in a drop of performance. So training is important, but is it followed with that ability? And thinking back to the tech intensity blueprint, this comes into that capability part. So we're adopting the technology, but it's also about creating capabilities and making sure everyone can use it. So here I had no knowledge and no ability whatsoever. This is the first time I held a cricket bat in my life. For some reason, I have only one pad, so obviously haven't felt the pain of the ball hitting my other leg just yet. And I'm holding the bat in the completely wrong way. So I'm really happy, but no idea what I'm doing. And with a little bit more knowledge, more ability, desire, and knowledge, we actually got to the Southeast League. We got to the finals, in fact, the national finals for British university sport. And I got to play cricket amongst the top eight female teams in the country. So that was pretty spectacular, considering that just 4 years ago, I'd never held a cricket bat before. But yeah, so we got to the finals. We didn't win, but we were there playing with the best. It was an incredible experience. But our last piece of the puzzle to round off our building blocks is reinforcement. It's really important to reinforce and reward people for adapting to a change. As I mentioned earlier, our brains like to minimize threats and maximize rewards. So don't forget to celebrate success and reward. And hopefully now you see how much effort goes each individual needs to make a change, to rewrite that autopilot. So if they do this successfully, celebrate the success and reward them for it. The biggest reward for myself, and no doubt the team, was winning the indoor varsity tournament. All of our training, hard work, desire, building new habits into our lives had paid off. So I hope you enjoyed reliving my cricket journey with me. And although my example so far used cricket, the steps I've been through apply to any type of change. So coming back to the tech intensity model, the steps we have been through will help you be well on your way to improving tech adoption wherever you're trying to implement it, achieving capability and building trust. So the 5 building blocks are a simple way, in theory, to drive change, help individuals understand why the change is important, help people see the value and make the decision to participate in the change, teach people how to change, and then give them time and the ability to change. As people see the value, they will continue to participate in the change. So in our ever-changing world where innovation travels at the speed of light, always remember that people are at the heart of everything we do in the world of tech. Start with the why in mind and remember the 5 building blocks for successful change: awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. People are at the heart of technology. Always start with the why and think of the 5 building blocks. Thank you for listening, and feel free if you have any questions, if there's any now, happy to answer, or connect with me on LinkedIn and ask any questions.
Yeah, Bettina, that was a great session. We have a few that was a great session. We have a few questions from the viewers. So
Yeah.
I'll shoot right at it. Yeah. So the first question is, like you talked about the digital transformation and the era of technology. So like, how do we take
Mhm.
the right first approach to like adapting to all of this?
How do we take the right approach to adopt the technology?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the steps that I went through, the ADKAR model, that is part of the whole change management adoption. So the ADKAR
Okay.
model will really help with individual change. So all of the 5 steps that I've been
Mm-hmm.
through, go through each one and and focus that at either individual level or organizational level.
Okay. Great. Another question is like, what are your opinions about tech affecting the overall growth of younger generations, as nowadays they are more into the virtual world?
Yeah, I absolutely think tech can be a great tool, but it has to be used in the right way. I
Mm.
mean, if we just spend hours on watching funny videos on YouTube, that's probably not the best, use of our time. But there's so much content that we can learn online. And I think as long as we're using technology in the right way to learn and don't let it affect our personal relationships, so no matter what, the real humans are going to always be more important. So it's, in my opinion, that should always be the most important thing. And technology is just a supplement to make our lives better, but it shouldn't be what our lives are all about, in my opinion. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, that perfectly makes sense. And another question is, what's our role in the bigger conversations about how technology governs and impacts society?
Yeah, so I mean, companies around the world, especially Microsoft, we are doing so much with technology for positive change. So, for example, if you Google the Xbox adaptive controller, for people that might have a mobility difficulty, we've adapted the Xbox so everyone can play games and it's an equal playing field, which is incredible. So, yeah, technology is absolutely all about solving the problem, right? And I said that at the beginning. What is the problem you're trying to solve? And
Hmm.
if you can use technology to do that, then yeah, great.
Okay. And like you talked about technology, so do you think that social media and technology are proportional? Like you're saying to adopt to technology and the new tech innovation. So do you think that the same applies to social media platforms also?
I'm actually quite interested about that, and I wrote a blog. I think social media can be a great thing. For example, I have family in Bulgaria that I don't
Mhm.
see. I'm actually Bulgarian, so for me to keep in touch with them is a great thing. But it's when you let social media take over your life and affect your mental health, that's when it can become really dangerous. And it's all about social media. It's all about capturing your attention and keeping you on those platforms. But my session was more so about when you're creating technology for good and maybe you've created a product or an app, as we've got developers on the call, you've created a new app. It's about how you get people to maybe use your app or use your
Mhm.
technologies in the right way. So yeah, social media is built on technology, so that makes it a tech thing. But yeah, it's quite a different thing.
Okay. And like you talked about, we know that this new social era causes laziness in youngsters, right? So, do you think, like, again, tech can help us to solve this problem?
Yeah. So again, it's if you decide to just sit on your sofa and watch Netflix, that's not going to help you get fitter. We all have, I'm a true believer, we all have 24 hours in the day, and it's what we like to do with it. And as an example, I have a smartwatch here,
Mhm.
and it tracks how many steps I do, how many calories I've burnt. That I use that sort of tech in a good way to help me keep fit
Mhm.
and make sure I hit my 10,000 steps. So it's all about how we perceive it and how we use it for the good.
Okay, Bettina, that was all, and it was really great to have you and listen to your insights. And like this session really helped us to see like how, when tech innovation and the open-mindedness to tech actually marry together, we have a great array of possibilities. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Have a great rest of the sessions and the day, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.